O'Cannon here from Fiction Atlas Press, bringing you another Indie Connection. Today I'd like to tell you about some indie books that you might enjoy if you're a fan of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. The first book I have for you is called Reputation, An Easy Thing to Lose by E.M. Stormsmith. What if Mr. Bennet died in a duel with Wickham after Lydia eloped, just as Mrs. Bennet feared? Would Elizabeth and Darcy still find their happily ever after if the Bennet women lost their reputation and their home? Nearly 4 months ago, Elizabeth Bennet hotly rejected Fitzwilliam Darcy's marriage proposal. Now she wonders if that was the biggest mistake of her life. Orphaned and living with her aunt and uncle Garnier in London, Elizabeth is determined to take a position as a governess or companion. Darcy could never renew his attentions to her after her family's disgrace, which is a shame because she just may be in love with him. Fitzwilliam Darcy would do anything for Elizabeth. As soon as he learned of Lydia Bennet's elopement, he rushed to London to try to put everything to rights. But his journey was fruitless. Mr. Bennet died of his wounds before Darcy could bring a doctor. Now he must convince Elizabeth to forgive him and marry him before she is beyond his reach forever. When an illegitimate child makes Lydia's shame complete, Elizabeth and Darcy are left to try to salvage what is left of their reputations and relationship. The second book I have for you is called Power and Prestige by Sarah L. McConkie. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a mage in possession of a vast fortune and refined magical abilities must be in want of a wife. Yet High Mage Darkwood of Pemberley has no intention of marriage upon his arrival at Netherfield, especially not to the lowly Miss Cassia Renton. Accustomed to always getting his way, frustration reigns when his magical power against Cassia has no effect. Cassia Renton puts little stake in inherited magical abilities until she travels to Rowsings Park, and everything changes. Perhaps it is the very land she stands on, or it is the proximity to the awful High Mage Darkwood that brings out something in her. When Cassia's family falls to ruin and she's confronted with the scariest opposition of her life, will Cassia abandon what she's always believed and summon her power within? And if she does, who will stand by her in the end? The third book I have for you is called Darcy by Any Other Name by Laura Heil. This one in particular I think is going to be great. It reminds me so much of some fan fictions that I've read before. Here is the blurb. Freaky Friday meets Pride and Prejudice in the sweet romance that has readers laughing in surprise and delight. For most, this is a glorious evening of music and dancing. But out in the garden, 2 men are arguing, while a ferocious rainstorm swirls around. Then the unthinkable happens. A lightning bolt from heaven strikes. In that instant, everything changes. Jane Austen's heartthrob hero becomes the bumbling Reverend Collins, and Collins wakes up to discover that he is master of Pemberley. Shorn of his fortune, his social standing, and his good looks, Mr. Darcy is trapped in Mr. Collins's body. Could there be anything worse? But the inner man is still Darcy. He is in love with Elizabeth Bennet, and now he is living in her house. Like I said, that one's going to be so much fun. The last book I have for you is Pride and All This Prejudice by Alex A. King. There are no truths universally acknowledged. We're people. People. We can't agree on anything. Elisa Barros. After 3 years studying overseas, Elisa Barros is coming home to the most predictable place on earth, where change is a foreign word and her future is carved in marble. But when a wealthy stranger inherits a house in the tiny village of Merrington, Greece, dragging the surliest man on the planet along with him, all the predictability she used to rely on is shot to pieces. Marcos Delis is a judgmental, rude, and Byronic store mannequin of a man who hates the family she adores. The only thing he and Elisa have in common is a mutual loathing. It's a perfect two-way street. Or so Elisa believes, until Marcos flings his true feelings in her face, leaving her to question how well she knows the arrogant man, and how well she knows herself. Okay, that's all for me this week. I'll see you next week on the Indie Connection. Bye!